You know, when we first came here, people said, well, how are you going to fund yourself? How are you going to pay for your fuel? Somebody's got to pay for your fuel. You know, what's the cost going to be? Well, I didn't know. Gas fuel here is expensive. Maintaining an airplane is expensive. But we told the Lord, if you want us here, you're going to have to provide. We had a little bit of assets left from the sale of our house, and we figured, well, our accountant in the States said, well, if you're lucky, it'll last you 6 months, and then you'll be back in the States. And I said, well, if that's what the Lord says, that's fine. And we put it on the table. If that's what the Lord wants us to use it for, then we'll use it. Retirement, that's the Lord's problem, whenever that comes, if it comes.
I don't know, the first 3-4 months, we lived in half of one of the thatch roof huts. We didn't have running water. It had a light bulb. When we first got here, the switch didn't work. They turned it on with, 2 bare wires together.
And one night, the wind came, blew off the roof, and it was raining at the same time. So we got up at 12 o'clock at night, went outside, got a tarp, covered our bed. That's it, we'll go to bed.
But for the first little while, it felt like we were camping all the time.
Doctora Chapatina, they call me. That's a doctor here. And I'm pretty much the person who cures everything, even though I don't know how.
And I'm like, God, I've got this budget figured out about how much the school could operate. It'd be a lot easier if you just send the money at the beginning of the month all together, and I wouldn't stress about it, right? It's all there, it's all together. This is killing me. You know, you're going to do it anyway, so why don't you just do it this way, and that'll work better, don't you think?
We have to depend on God, because sometimes we even have for the food, but my friend have for money for get some food, so he gets food for me. But maybe tomorrow I have money to the food and he don't have it, and we work together as a team. And nobody do this for money.
Te estoy viendo.
¿Dónde estás yendo?
No, te estoy viendo.
Oh. ¿Y cómo limpian eso normalmente?
Así. ¿Así nomás?
Oh, bien. Bien, bien.
The reason I'm here is because I've always wanted to be a missionary. I have a friend, her name is Melissa Harding. Pretty much we talked about starting an orphanage, and I said, when I'm done school, I want to come and help you. And so she said, okay, when you're ready, come. And so I finished school, and I came for 6 months, supposedly, and I stayed. I quit college. I thought it was exciting. I thought it would be a great adventure, and it is. It's not quite as silver-lined as I thought it would be. After the first couple weeks I was here, I was like, wow, this is crazy. This isn't at all romantic like my dreams. But what keeps me here is just seeing God work in every little way, how He's working in my life. I just felt like I needed to stay, and I stayed, and I know I learned way more here than I would have ever learned in nursing school, just about life. I mean, you learn every day something new about yourself, about other people, about God. It's been the best thing that ever happened to me, because college was pretty much a trap. I mean, I was going to go become a nurse, which is very needed here. We definitely need nurses, but just my environment and my relationship with God wasn't good. And here I've grown so much and learned so much about God that it's worth it all.
Duele como fuego. Mentira, no duele.
¿Qué más?
No duele, mira eso.
We have a few orphans, but most of them are just kids who need to get out of the situations they're in.
I'm not a nurse, but I get called for everything. So. No necesito curitas. No es abierto, no hay sangre, no.
School is for all the kids that are here. We also have some external students who come from up the road and down the road. Usually they're poor students. Lots of times you get very impatient with these guys. God is the only one who gives you patience because sometimes they can be so bad. There's always problems with lots of the big girls getting in fights and not getting along, and somebody got hurt or their feelings were hurt, and it's just like you always have stuff like that, but God always clears it up. The boys have changed so much this year. We've seen such a huge growth in them with having a mom and a dad. They just, like, their attitudes have become good. They listen way better. Little Salvador, you'll probably meet him. He just, like, he's changed so much. And he talks about God, and he has such a huge heart, and he just ran wild last year because there was just not enough people, not enough, I don't know, wisdom. Just to see how they've changed from last year when I was here to this year is incredible, because they come knowing pretty much nothing about God, and if they do know about God, it's usually just a messed up view of God, where He's just a big meanie. Just to see them now singing every morning, reading their Bibles every day, memorizing the Bible, helping out at the church, giving Bible studies. It's just incredible to see how God is using them and using us, even though, like, I came just a kid myself, and He's using whatever I'll give Him to help these kids. And pretty much every moment you're asking God, just help me. That's another thing that I never did back home, because when you're comfortable, you don't need to ask God for anything, right? But I'm asking Him all day long to help me.
I come from a background where I didn't like to read. School was just a playground. I was a goofball. So, in effect, when I graduated, I didn't know anything. I barely passed. I didn't know a thing. I knew how to work. I know how to use my hands, and that's about it. When I was working back home, it got to the point where, you know, you work, you sleep, you work and you sleep and you eat. I mean, that's about all that was going on. And, you know, there's church and there is all that, but there is nothing that was, you know, moving ahead, you know, in the spiritual sense.
At the end of our first year of marriage, we had just gotten out of debt. And the very same week, we had some friends who showed us a video of David Gates preaching in that church somewhere.
And man, not even 5 minutes into the video, like...
And it really struck a chord.
And I says, come on, wife, let's go home. I gotta go. You know, let's get down our knees and let's pray to God. If this is His will for us to do, to go and be missionaries, let's do it. You know, we're nobody. My wife is a secretary, I'm a carpenter by trade. So what can we do? But we got their knees and said, you know what, God, this is all yours. When we got a call back and saying that, yeah, we can come, you know, we gave up everything, jobs and everything. It wasn't only because it was exciting. It's because we wanted an experience with God, like a life that experiences faith, to see God actually work.
One of the biggest things I think that we've really seen is how God provides month to month. Especially last year, and again, starting again this year, there weren't a lot of donations that came in, like for the school. And it was like out of the blue, things would happen. Like we didn't have any money, and somebody, you know, we had a truck at home to sell. And it was like, we'd like to buy your vehicle. It's like, well, there we go. There's another few months worth of food. Or this year it was our income tax return came back just in time for us to go buy food. and to all the other millions of expenses that crop up. God really provides when we need Him.
He doesn't give us more than what we need. He just gives us what we need to keep going.
It's also cool to see our students experiencing the same things. Because at the same time we didn't have very much money, we told the students, look, we don't have money. We need to go buy food tomorrow. And we don't know how God is going to provide. And we invited them to pray. And after worship was over, we had some students who came and gave, like 20 bolivianos, which is like $3. But it's all they had. Or there's some who, they had a bag of sugar. That's all they had, so they brought it. Just to see them experiencing, living in a community and sharing, as well as learning to trust in God. Especially the students who've been here for 2, 3, 4 years. They really get to see over and over again how God provides.
The program here is working with the students to spend as much time with the students as you can. Because a lot of these students don't come from a Christian environment, and so they need all the influence that they can to be steered in the right way. And so that's what I do.
¿Cómo? We are washing the bike. We are washing.
A big thing is being happy. When you work, you be happy, and that changes, every day. Every day, if a person is discouraged, put them a smile, and they change. I'm probably one of the few people that doesn't know very much, and yet I can work for God in His vineyard. I can't preach, and I can't give a Bible study, but if I can free somebody's time to do a Bible study, hey, that's that's my mission work.
One day I just decided to leave my country, quit my home, and I moved to the States. At the beginning, everything was like pretty good over there. The first months, nobody knows me over there. With the time started go by, and I start making the same bad decisions that I made on my country. Car accidents, motorcycle accidents, alcohol, some drugs sometimes. So I start to feel like very depressed and very bad about it, because I thought, well, I can do nothing good. I messed it up on my country. Now here, I move here trying to make the things better, and I already messed it up here. I started looking for God one day. I went to church. I started to go all the weekends, all the Saturdays to church. They were asking for missionaries. And I started thinking, I started looking for a place where to go, and I started to fill out applications. But all the places they asked me for a reference, for a pastor, for a church, something like that. And nobody gave nothing for me. If I call a pastor to give me a reference, they will never do it. So I started to feel bad again. I said, well, this is all my fault, because I make really bad decisions on my past. So maybe I'm too bad that nobody will allow me on the mission field. One day I found Red at Avenir on a website, and I write the application. A few days after that, they answered me, and they told me, well, right now we need translators. No, we don't have job with construction. But I said, well, I need to try this, because I need to do something, and I need to do something now. Because if I wait more time here,
maybe I'm gonna lose this fire that I have right now. Maybe I'm gonna lose my goal, maybe I'm gonna lose my target. So I come here. It's a new life for me. That's why I'm in love about this. That's why I can go out from the mission field, because I feel I find the real reason for living here. He is providing all the dreams, all the desires of my heart here. Things that I never dream about it, but I feel happy. I never thought that I will enjoy traveling a lot and sharing my room with 3 more guys. That was hard at the beginning, but now it's just awesome. I have like really good friends. Sometimes we start like talking and it's awesome. I never had friends like that before. You know, we are a team. Like, I don't know nothing about computers, but God gave me a lot of friends here that they are really good with computers. I don't know nothing about other things like preaching or giving Bible studies, but I learned here, and that's one of the activities that I enjoy the most. I gave my first Bible study here. I preached the first time on a church here, and I don't know what else God can do with me. I don't have idea.
You know, oftentimes, finances is a big word. I'm a budget guy. I went down and people said, hey, how are you going to go down and be a volunteer and survive? How do you survive as a volunteer? You know, it's kind of funny. It was tough for me really at first. And I'm a whiner. I whine to God all the time, right? And we get this statement in that shows us our donations every month that came in. And I hate opening the email. I'm always afraid. What am I afraid of? Right? That there won't be enough for the month. So here I am telling God how to handle His money. You know, we oftentimes have a lot of advice for God, by the way. I always do. I'm always trying to tell God how to do things. So here I am trying to tell Him how to do it. The next morning, I go to bed and I wake up in the morning, and God's like, you know what, Jeff, while I'm reading my devotion, why don't you figure out how much I'm sending you then? You know, you're griping about how much you're getting, and you want $1,500 a month every month at the beginning of the month. And that would just cover food and gas for the schools, right? So He's like, why don't you figure out how much you're getting? So I went into my little book there, my notebook, and my counting software, and I said, okay, well, let's figure it out. So I went from January to November, added up all the money that went through my hands. It ended up being $5,000 a month. You see, I'm such the great accountant, I had my budget all figured out, but God knew that I needed way more than a measly $1,500 a month. He's like, Jeff, hey, I'm doing way more than that for you. Quit your whining. Here, let me help you get your shoes off, and you can just stand right up there.
Stand a little bit.
You can watch right from there. Okay, be real careful, okay?
I work on this.
Okay, let me point to something that you can work on. You can work on this. Okay? Yeah, work on that.
I need to work on.
Okay, work on right here. Work on this. Can you work on that? Kind of poke your screwdriver in there? Perfect. Thank you. That's a future mission pilot in training. This is a miracle plane. You know, in the aviation world, there's no perfect airplane, and there's a lot of different opinions about, you know, what is the best airplane. You know, so I found it. We went and saw it. I went and looked at like 3 airplanes, and this was the best one I found. And so I made a $2,000 deposit. That's all I had. I didn't have any more money to make a deposit on it. And then I had to fly back down to Bolivia because there was we're working on this new construction project, and a team was coming down, so I had to get back down there right away. And so I said, I'll be back in 3 weeks, and I'll make the rest. We'll do the pre-buy, and I'll make the rest of the payment. So 3 weeks rolls by, and I'm driving up there. I'm like, Lord, you got to make it clear. If you don't want this plane, I don't want it. I want you to do whatever. And I don't have any money, so you could do that. Well, that day, I get a phone call from somebody who says, hey, you know what? I want to help out with, 20 grand towards your airplane. And I was like, you know, Lord, thank you. You answered, you know, my prayer. I said, okay, left him the $20,000 as a deposit, a real deposit, and I said, we'll finish paying at the end of April, the end of the month of April. So April rolls around, you know, we've got a week into it. I'm like, Lord, you know, you have provided the 20, you can provide the rest. And so anyway, there was a, man, this thing. Hold on, let me just kind of pay attention to what I'm doing here just for a sec. Okay, hold on, little girl. I need to grab another tool. Can you just, is it bad if I break in and out? Okay, so basically, a week later, you know, I was like praying, God, you know, you got to come up with the rest of the money here. And so, you know, I got a phone call. By the way, I'm not anybody special. So, I mean, I don't know a lot of rich people. My folks aren't real wealthy and, you know, that kind of thing. So, and my church isn't that big, but, you know, they support us huge. But anyway, you know, somebody I didn't even know said, hey, we want to help with the airplane. And they sent us a check for $50,000. So that got us one step closer. Here you go. And then basically, you don't want that tool? We're here. What about this tool? You want that one? Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, so basically, you know, some other donors, and it kind of came together between a little bit of a loan and a lien, and we're pretty much. I was able to make the payment like 3 days before the end of April. You know, God was awesome, and you know, for an airplane that I didn't have only $2,000 to go for, God put it all together in His time.
Clear prop.
Where's this guy going? His bicycle. He's not paying attention at all. Okay.
He was looking online and he saw some volunteer positions flying, and we said, oh, that would be cool, because he always wanted to fly and be a bush pilot. I mean, he was a pilot already.
We always had this desire to return to the mission field, but we never thought of going self-supporting. We thought we'd do that once we retired and we had our pensions and we had Social Security and income from investments, then we could go self-supporting and just, you know, different places, short-term type things. Well, that would be fun. Well, we're not close enough, old enough to retire yet, so that was off the horizon. But little phrases, little paragraphs, little statements throughout the course of a couple of months, the same things seem to keep just jumping out like a little flashing light to me. Sell out and follow me. Give up what you have and follow me. And at our age, that's scary. Kids just not quite through school yet, still in college, a couple of them, and looking at retirement down the road a ways, and it's like, Lord, what are you saying? And so we went to Venezuela first, and we came here, and we've been over 2 years now without a paycheck. Our philosophy is, as long as the Lord provides the money, we're going to do the best we can to provide the service that we can to those that are in need. And so far, He has not let us down. And it's been over 2 years. It was not like we have committed donors. We don't. We have a handful, a very small handful, and a lot of times it's people we've never heard of. We don't know why the money comes, but the Lord does. And some months the amounts have been up, and usually when that happens, the bills go up. Some months it's been pretty skimpy. And in fact, as we had one here a couple months ago where I knew it wasn't anywhere near enough to cover just the fuel for the airplane. And I said, Lord, what do you want us to do? And we just kept buying gas. We kept buying supplies for our schools, for our Bible workers, paying their stipends. We just kept paying the bills. As long as there was money in my pocket, I kept buying the gas. As there was money in my pocket, I bought the food. If there was money in my pocket, I paid for the stipends. And Tony kept asking, where's the money coming from? And I said, I don't know, but I still got money left in my pocket to buy gas for tomorrow's flight. That's all that counts.
See, I was keeping track of all the money in the computer, and I kept checking with him. How
and
much
she
money
said,
do you have?
There's no money left. You've already spent everything. And I said, but there's still money in my pocket. Have you ever read the story of the widow with the oil and how it just kept coming and coming and coming? That's how it's been. And we told the Lord, if you don't want us to fly, if you don't want us to do this job, all you do is drop the money. Ready? Clear, prop. 3.5 hours of fuel, requesting flight level 2000 for Dubai.
We feel so strongly that God wants us here. He wants us doing what we're doing. That He will tell us if we're not supposed to be doing that, and we just put ourselves in His hands. And if something does happen, we're doing what He wants us to do, and that's what counts.
I see bad weather ahead. I tell the Lord, if you want me to make this flight today, open up the weather. And over I have seen the Lord part the clouds, and there's a clear path right where I need to go. And it has just been awesome to have that connection, to see God's hand move on our behalf, to move on our project that we're working on here to help people. And when you see that happening, it does something for the soul that a 9-to-5 job in the States will never do for me again. It's been tough losing our friend Bob Norton and his wife and the people that were with him. And the other pilot that went down 3 months before that we'd also worked with in Venezuela, who died in Canada in a plane crash. It's been very, very difficult because we're doing the exact same things they were doing, the exact same thing Bob was doing. He had a lot more hours, a lot more experience, a much better pilot than I am. But Bob felt the same call that we do, that God called him to do the job. And we have been called to do the same job. And yes, it's tough. Emotionally, it is tough to deal with that. And we see what it's done to his family. We've seen what it's done to his friends. And we don't want to do that to our family. But we have told our family before we ever came down here that if something happened, don't blame God. We realize the risks are very high, but when you're doing God's work, it doesn't matter because it's up to Him. The responsibility is now on His shoulders, not on mine. And that makes all the difference for us.
If someone told me like a couple of years ago that one day I will be preaching on a church, or I will be in different homes giving Bible studies, or working on a Christian TV station, I will say like, good night, no way. It's no way for me to be there. But God, He can give you a new heart. And here is a new beginning.
And every day, like, I struggle to give what I have. I feel selfish lots of times. I don't want to be doing this. They call Mommy Sarah, every, I won't say how many seconds. And I get tired, I don't get enough sleep lots of times, and I just get discouraged. But every morning, I try to have my worship alone, and then we have staff worship, and God just comforts me and says, you know, you're doing what I've called you to do. You're here for a reason, just do it.
No paycheck, no guaranteed income each month. That was scary at our age. But the Lord said, do you trust me? Are you willing to put it all on the altar for me? And when you make that commitment, it's tough. But if you hold the Lord to it and you do your part, He will not fail.
And a lot of people told us we were totally crazy.
They still do.
And they still are. But you know what? It doesn't matter.
Because we're doing what the Lord has asked us to do. And people said, are you out of money yet? Are you making it? Do you have enough to eat? Our diet isn't as fancy as it used to be. That's good because we lost some weight. It's a good thing. I can carry more in my airplane now. But God is good. We've been healthy. Neither one of us have really gotten sick. We have no insurance. We have no medical insurance. We have no retirement. We have no airplane insurance. We have nothing except what God provides. And as God sees the need, He will take care of us. I have no doubt.
He has, every time.
when I go back home. Yeah, this is by far, always wanted to do missionary work. We always wanted to do something for God.
Just never expected to be living in South America doing it.
Yeah, this fills our hole. Fills our hole.
Hebrews 10 talks about, but you have need of patience, that after doing the will of God you may receive the promise. You know, I always used to think it was just faith that we needed to receive God's promises, but sometimes I'm an impatient guy. So I want God to do it right now, my way, you know, the way I want it, and right away. But you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and if we're willing to step out by faith, believe His promises, and have patience that He'll fulfill them, God's going to do it every time. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're American, you're Latin American, you're whoever, God is going to do it. He is, and He's able.